to the Never Yield podcast. Today is Tuesday, January the 20th, and I'll start today's podcast with words nobody on this planet ever thought they would hear. The Indiana Hoosiers are your college football national champions. Not basketball, but football. That's just wild, absolutely wild to say. We'll get into that on today's pod. We'll talk about the Hogs' loss at Georgia, and we will obviously talk about their upcoming huge game with Vanderbilt in the bud tonight. Um, both teams kind of reeling a little bit. Just a massive, massive game for both teams. Andrew's internet is giving him all kinds of issues. He just can't get it connected and get it rolling. We apologize for that at his new house. You probably saw in the last pod that he got cut out of the end of it on Friday's pod. So he's working through that. Hopefully he has that ready to go before next Friday's pod. So we'll be riding solo tonight. Man, we'll start just got done watching the national championship game, obviously, and what a football game. As dominant as Indiana has been all year, it was kind of refreshing to see Miami have the ball with a chance to win the game late. But Indiana, it just felt like it was a too good of a story. They had all the good vibes. The whole country was behind them. You know, it could be a movie. It really could. And you just would have been shocked if they had gotten beat. I mean, I would have been. I think most people would have just been shocked, as good as they've been, just kind of how the story has came to be with Kurt Signetti and Indiana being the second losingest college football program in the history of football. Um, and so, hey, one for the little guys. One for the little guys. The Arkansas of the world, the Indianas of the world. Um, it just makes you happy. It just kind of gives you a rejuvenated feel that it can happen. It can happen for anybody. Um, you know what Lane Kiffin did at Ole Miss. Obviously, what Clark Lee's done at Vanderbilt. What Kurt Signetti, the ultimate, obviously at Indiana. Um, Arizona State going to the college football playoff last year. So I mean, it can happen. Uh, in today's era with the portal and NIL, you don't have to love it. You don't have to like how it's ran. I think obviously that there's a bunch of issues that people need to get fixed, but it can happen. And as an Arkansas fan, as someone who the last decade has sat through miserable football, miserable, embarrassing football, um, it just gives you the slightest sense of hope. And that's all as a fan that you could ever want is hope. And I'm not saying that Arkansas is going to do that. They're going to win a national championship. You know, who knows? But I'm just saying that watching Indiana gives all the mid-level, lower-level teams of their conference hope that it can happen with the right guy, the right system, the right discipline, the right culture, the right coaches, the right players. You got to all get it together, and then that magical run can most certainly happen. So, uh, man, what a game though! Not Let's not just talk about Indiana and their historical run, but why it happened. Um, Fernando Mendoza, Heisman Trophy winner. Nobody knew who he was 6 months ago. And then he goes and wins the Heisman Trophy and just wheels his team on a couple huge throws, fourth down conversions in the fourth quarter. Um, Kurt Signetti decides to go for it on 4th and 5 from his own 10, 12 yard line, or from the Miami 10 or 12, instead of kicking the field goal. to go up six. He decides to go for goes for it on 4th and 5, and they run the quarterback draw, and it was he probably would have got the first down regardless. But he got hit right at the line to gain, right at the first down line, and he just plowed through a linebacker, spun off somebody else, laid out, dove in the end zone, and what a call! I mean, the kahunas on Kurt Signetti to go for that on 4th down instead of going up six. Um, but I love it. I was saying go for it before he went for it. Watching it with my kids, I was like, he needs to go for it here. Go win the national championship. That's the way I look at it. Don't play conservative. Don't, obviously trust in your defense. Yeah, all that's important, but man, put the ball in your Heisman Trophy, winner's hands and let him go win you a national championship. And that's exactly what Kurt Signetti did. I don't know the percentage of coaches that would have done that. Probably 2 to 3 out of 10, if that. I bet 7, 8 out of 10 go kick the field goal to go up six there. But you love seeing it work out. Obviously, if it doesn't work, it's a different story. But you love seeing it work out for that team, for that coach, for that player. He made a couple huge back shoulder throws. I don't know why that's not more prevalent in college football, that back shoulder. You can't cover it. You can't cover it, especially in man to man. And so hopefully Ron Silverfield's got that, in his playbook for the Hogs, but that back shoulder, go route or fade is just it's almost an impossible cover. You're almost throwing a bad ball on purpose where your guy's the only guy who has a chance to make the play on it. And Miami knew that was coming because Indiana's done that all year. They should have known that was coming. That's been an Indiana staple. And but a couple huge throws. I mean, the defenses were both really, really good until late in the second half. The offenses got going a little bit, but um, blocked punt for a touchdown. Special teams, as Houston Nutt always said, special teams got to be special tonight. And that 7 turned out to be the difference in the game. That blocked punt. Uh, so And that's what Indiana's been doing all year, though. They have 8 block kicks in 2 years. 8. I don't know if the Arkansas Razorbacks have 8 block kicks in my lifetime. 38 years. That may be a stretch, but it's probably close to that. 8 block kicks in 2 years. How does that happen? It happens because you hire the right people and they know how to find the intricacies and the weaknesses and study all the little details and exploit it, and it's just a culture. I mean, that's not by accident that you hire this guy from James Madison and all of a sudden you have a Heisman Trophy winner, you have 8 block kicks in 1 year, you win a national championship. All that's not by accident. Like, that's meaningful purpose, structure, obviously culture, discipline. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I was a huge Indiana fan. It's hard for me not to be a true Indiana fan, honestly. Um, I love Signetti. I love the way he runs his stuff, does his business, handles himself. He's funny. He's intense. We've all talked about that opening press conference, where they asked him why he thinks he can win at Indiana, and he said, "Google me, because I win." And he just said, "Google me." Like, so he's got an arrogance about him that's not too much, so you still like it. And it's just a great, great story, man. Indiana Hoosiers are your 2026 football national champions. That is crazy to say. Um, Anybody who's followed football for any time at all understands how crazy that is to say. You've never heard of Indiana being good, ever. You've even heard of Maryland and Purdue and Northwestern with Pat Fitzgerald. I mean, they've all had their seasons where they've won 8, 9 games in the Big Ten, and you never heard of Indiana in all those years. And it's it's really really wild. And I may be on an island on this, but I mean, obviously the better coach, in my opinion, the better quarterback. Those are the two biggest things to me. Carson Beck's just not that guy. And I said it all night. I said it all playoffs. He somehow makes a big throw every once in a while, but you just look at if you just watch a game, like their offense is really it's really blah, and I just don't. He's just not the guy, and he moved him down the field a little bit there at the end, but he ended up throwing the interception, and he just I don't think he's a top 20 quarterback in Division 1. And so it's hard to win championships when you have a quarterback who's you don't trust, who can't stretch the field a ton. He's a good quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback. I don't even know if he's good. I just say he's solid. He's fine. And all of his yards tonight were thrown to Malachi Tony 3 yards past the line of scrimmage, and Tony being insane and picking up yards after catch. So, they schemed it pretty good to get Tony the ball. He is a dude, true freshman. I guess he's supposed to still be in high school. Had almost 100 yards receiving tonight. That dude is going to be an issue for the next 2 years at this level. Um, but yeah, back to Carson Beck, man. I don't not impressed. Wasn't impressed with him at Georgia. Wasn't impressed with him the whole year at Miami. Um, I'll give him his credit. He got his team to the national championship game, but you got to have a guy who can go make some plays, and obviously Fernando Mendoza made the plays, and Carson Beck didn't. So that's not a huge surprise, in my opinion. Uh, but one more time as we wrap up college football, man, just props to Indiana, props to their fans. Dude, the way they traveled to Miami, the way they traveled to Atlanta, the way they traveled to Pasadena at the Rose Bowl, it's just crazy. I would like to think Razorback fans would do that. Um, but it's a really 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 cool story. So um, sad college football's over. Always sad college football's over. Even with as bad as the Hogs were this year and embarrassing, you're still sad when football's over. So uh, sad college football's over for sure. But fun games, fun playoffs, and obviously new leadership for the Hogs. So uh, yeah, I mean, I can't wait for it to get here again. There's nothing like it, even coming from a basketball guy. There's nothing like college football. Nothing like Saturdays, watching College Game Day. Going to Donald W. or just kicking up the recliner and watching football. There's nothing like it. Um, but moving on to something a little closer to home, Arkansas goes to Athens on Saturday and gets the tires beat off of them. It's becoming kind of frustrating. 90-76 to Georgia. Georgia's a fine team. They're not a great team. Um, Ole Miss went in and beat them just a couple days before. Florida shellacked them. They have no really good non-conference wins. I mean, they're good. They're a tournament team, but man, there's starting to be some red flags here with this Razorback basketball team. Uh, and Cal always gets them rolling late in the year. I'm not panicking. I'm just saying there's some red flags. There's some concerns. And they're starting to show themselves more and more consistently now that we're in league play and now that we're on the road. These things are really starting to to be exposed by these other teams, and I'm not seeing Arkansas making the adjustments. I'm not seeing the coaching staff make the adjustments. The players change how they're approaching things. Um, and that's the most frustrating thing. The Auburn game, we kind of looked at it as an anomaly. Auburn was 0-2, had an overtime loss, had a buzzer beater loss, and you knew they were better than their record, and you're going into the jungle on a Saturday and they're in desperation mode, and we've talked about all that. And then it just kind of like, all right, well, we come home, we kick the brakes off of South Carolina. Maybe they kind of got it figured out. And then we go on the road and it's the same thing as it was against Auburn. That's what's frustrating is that we thought the Auburn game was an anomaly or a one-off, and it wasn't. I don't think it was Auburn. I think it was Arkansas. I don't think it, Georgia coming off an overtime loss to Ole Miss. Like the whole narrative of, well, we're catching these teams in desperation spots. I'm done with that. Like it was a good narrative at the Auburn game, but now it was the Georgia game. And then we didn't step up to the occasion. And now we got Vanderbilt losing two in a row. So we're just going to not play well tomorrow night at home. I'm sick of the lack of awareness, the lack of intensity out of the gate, the lack of sense of urgency is the best word for it. I think it's just a sense of urgency and the will and desire to understand how hard it is to win, especially on the road in this league. And it's not like this team is super young. I mean, you got four guys from a team that went to the Sweet 16 last year. You brought in another SEC starter. You brought in an ACC, all conference player, Malik Ewan. And I don't understand how this happened again. I think Cal has a really big problem on his hands. Obviously, Cal understands how hard it is and how important it is, but I think he has a really big problem trying to relay that and get that message across to the guys, um, because it's two games in a row on the road, or we'll get into defensively in a minute, but they just didn't show up from the tip, down 19-2 right off the bat to a team who's not that great. They're just a solid SEC team. They're an upper half SEC team, down 19-2, and there's just no killer instinct in these guys. And I got that wrong because when I watched them against Cincinnati and Memphis in those preseason games, that's one of the first things I said was like, this thing's got some dog in them. And that just has appeared not to be the case. And it starts at the top with the coaching staff, but you got to have player leaders also. You got to have on court guys who can lead by example, not just in that moment, but in the preparation leading up to that game, can lead by example when you're doing your scout, which is a whole nother story I'm worried about. But when you're going over your scouting, when you're going over your preparation, when you're practicing, going through shoot around, all that stuff, like you've got to have the right guys and the right mindset. And it just takes a couple of them for it to rub off on other guys in the right way. And I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing it from those veterans. Um, we got down 19-2 to Georgia, and I think we only had like 5 shot attempts in that little section. Like we weren't even getting shots off. We're turning the ball over, getting violations, just carelessness, laziness with the ball. They're so careless with the ball. And it's really starting to be alarming, especially defensively. I've Those of you that listen to the pod, I've aired out my defensive concerns with this group for a while. But we give up 90 to Georgia. We give up 95 to Auburn. We give up 87 to a not good offensively Ole Miss team. Give up 75 at home to Tennessee. You give up 94 to Houston. 94 to Houston? Houston doesn't even try to score the ball. They're the defensive, powerhouse. Um, before they played a really bad Arizona State team, Houston has scored 77, 77, 69, 67, 69. Then you have a 94 from the Hogs. The next game, they score 69 against Middle Tennessee State. They score 67 against Cincinnati. They score 69 against Texas Tech. And then 77 against Baylor and 77 against West Virginia. And they score 94 on the Hogs? This is not a team who scores 90 every game. Give up 86 to Texas Tech. So defensively, these guys have got to figure it out. And it could be scheme. It could be game plan and rules and how they want to guard certain actions. But I think it's just will. I think it's just want to. I think it's just killer. Dog eat dog. Um, and I think that directly correlates with how these road games are going. This team's not very tough. There's no toughness in this team. Because that's where you see toughness. You see toughness through adversity, going on the road and competing, not winning all your road games, but definitely not getting blown out double digits to teams who are not great. And that same toughness correlates to getting in a stance and guarding and having some pride on the defensive end. Talent can get you through on offense. You really get exposed when it comes to toughness and leadership and lack of effort and lack of urgency. You get exposed on that on the defensive end and when adversity happens. And those are the two things we've seen with this team that are correlating to these results that we're seeing. Yeah, they're uber talented. They're uber skilled. We know that. They can score the ball in a lot of different ways. We know that. And you see that on offense, but that doesn't carry over in terms of physicality and toughness and killer instinct. The talent doesn't. It's apples and oranges. So that's the concern because I'm not sure. I don't know if that's something you can fix. I don't know if that's something you can fix. This team is talented enough to beat anybody in the country. We know that. If we played Arizona or Michigan tomorrow and we beat them on a neutral floor, wouldn't be surprised at all. Not at all. But to make runs in March, to be able to roll off multiple wins in a row, you've got to be able to guard at a average level. If you are an elite offensive team and you can guard average, you can win a lot of games. But this team does not guard nowhere near the level of average. Nowhere near it. This is a below average, piss poor, honestly, defensive team right now. And it's not just one thing. It's not just ball screens. It's not just pin downs. It's not just guarding the ball or lack thereof. It's not just slow on rotations. It's all of it. It's everything. As a former coach, if you could identify one thing you struggled with and really emphasize it for a couple days and get it fixed, that's fine. But when you struggled at everything, you're like, you're lost. You don't know what to do. You don't have answers. And that may be where this coaching staff's at right now. I don't know. And I don't know why this team's not good defensively. Trevor Brazile is a freak athlete. I think he's got a pretty high defensive rating as a player. You got someone like Darius Acuff, who obviously is a freak athlete. You got Billy Richmond, who's, Billy Goat, your energizer guy, your effort guy, your hustle guy. Carter Knox, borderline draft pick last year. DJ, you got guys who should be able to guard. Um, it's one thing if you get exposed in the post a little bit, but your guards can really buckle down and kind of offset those weaknesses. But like I said, it's not just getting beat in the post or getting beat off the bounce. It's everything. It's everything, and that's what's frustrating. Because these other teams, the more they watch film, the more they watch tape, they see it, and they're just going to expose it. Especially these teams that scored a high level. Uh, but these road woes are getting kind of old. Like I said, I'm done with this team's desperate. They're at home. They've lost two in a row. Yada. I'm done. I mean, I'm sick of that narrative. So it's time to start figuring some things out defensively. And there's one real way to do it is to sit down the people who aren't doing it. Just let them sit over here and watch. It's kind of hard when you only got 8 guys. I think eight's a decent number, but you'd like to have nine, maybe even 10. If you could play nine consistently and then your 10th be kind of play him if you have to and he's not going to kill you. But I mean, we're just 8 done. And that's hard. But I wonder at what point Cal decides to start tweaking the starting lineup. Um, and it could be in a multitude of ways. I'm all for bringing a spark in off the bench. I like not bringing someone off or two or three guys off the bench and then just barely hanging on. I love having a guy or two off the bench that can come in and elevate when they come in with fresh legs. So Malik Thomas is. Um, so Billy Richmond was. He's been starting the last 2 games since Carter got beat up. Uh, and that's what Malik Ewan is in the post. He's by far our best post scoring threat, our best rebounder in the post, and it's not even close. But I want to know at what point you sacrifice getting off to miserable starts or guys who just aren't playing well, no matter how much you like them. I know Cal loves DJ Wagner. Kentucky fans, all they did was grab about DJ Wagner. Oh, they told us, oh, Cal and DJ, he's never going to get on DJ. I love DJ. I've said that 100 times on this pod. I love DJ. I want DJ to be successful. DJ was the catalyst in our Sweet 16 run last year. But DJ ain't getting done right now. He's not. Give him a change of scenery. Let him come off the bench. Maybe that sparks him. Um, Malik Ewan is night and day playing better than Nick Pringle. Has been for 10 games, 12 games. Start Malik Ewan. Start Malik Thomas. Bring Billy in off the bench. Let that be the energy guy. And it's not all about who starts, it's about who finishes the game, who plays the most minutes. Yeah, it is. I've told 100 kids that. I've told parents that in parent meetings. It's not about just your kid getting his name called out. It's about his role on the team and how many minutes he gets and what he does when he's in there and who finishes the game. That's the most important. The five that finish it, not the 5 who start it. But whenever you have this common denominator of these slow starts on the road, people not producing, the plus minuses, I don't have them in front of me. They don't lie. You can see how the team plays when they're in the game by their plus minus. Obviously, just looking at shooting percentage, turnovers, how are they guarding, what's their usage rates, all that stuff's important and all that stuff's on paper. And I just wonder how much longer Cal's going to ride these same 5 before he makes a change. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Nick Pringle, outside of his South Carolina game, has been the biggest disappointment on the roster. I mean, he brings nothing to the table, really, on either end. Defensively, he's not even good. Offensively, he can't catch the ball. He's always fumbling the ball, and I don't know what all that's about. But here's all you need to know. And I could go back in several box scores, and this would be the similar story. But against Georgia, Nick Pringle had 19 minutes and 2 rebounds. Two. Billy Richmond had 8 rebounds. For those of you who don't know, Nick Pringle is 6'10, 6'11. Billy Richmond is 6'4, 6'5. I don't care what he's listed at. He's a guard. How does Billy Richmond have 8 rebounds and Nick Pringle have 2 rebounds? That can't happen. Can't happen. It's the same thing with Trevor Brazile. Trevor Brazile, 2 rebounds against Georgia. He played 25 minutes. He got 2 rebounds. It's an effort thing. It's a want-to thing. It's just a lack of it. And it's pathetic, and it's getting old with the same old people over and over and over. Um, Maliki was playing 20 minutes a game. Nick Pringle was playing 20 minutes a game. That's about how these splits have been averaging out for those two. That needs to go to like 26 and 14. That needs to go to 26 and 14. Uh, he's just, Malik Ewing, 7 rebounds, 12.7 rebounds. Billy Richmond, 12 points, 8 rebounds. Carter Knox, 8.7 rebounds. All these guys are giving you better productivity than Nick Pringle and Trevor Brazile. I'm not going to be hard on Brazile. He's hit a lot of big shots. He's had some games where he's rebounded pretty good. But it's got to be more consistent from Trevin. I know he is what he is. I know he can't play off the dribble. I know. But impact winning in different ways. How can you impact winning if you're not hitting catch and shoot threes, Trevin? Well, go get some rebounds. Go get some putback dunks. Not 2 rebounds in 25 minutes. Malik Thomas obviously had a terrible game, 4-17 shooting. I said it after the prime time at the Palace. For those, I said, you guys that don't know who Malik Thomas is, he's going to drive you nuts, and you're going to love him. He's going to get a lot of shots up. He's going to make a bunch. But when he's not hitting the shots, he's going to keep shooting because shooters shoot. Especially him. That's his mentality. Next one's always going in. I'm too good. Next one's going in. I love that mentality. I'm not mad at Malik for going 4-17 because he was only 1-6 from 3. It's not like he was 1 of 12 from 3. He was trying to play, off the bounce, get to the rim, get to his mid-range game, and it just wasn't working. But he still had 6 rebounds. He still had 3 assists. He's contributing in other ways when his shot's not falling. So, yeah, I'm concerned, majorly concerned. I'm not like throwing the panic meter up, but I definitely am concerned. I definitely see some red flags with this team. Just consistency, man. Just be consistent. Go on the road, compete your ass off, play with some pride. Be proud to wear the Arkansas across the front of your chest. Show improvement from game to game, not the same old stuff. I don't care that they were down 18 and tied it up, went on a 24-4 run. I don't care. Because after you tied it up, you got outscored 20-6. You can't get down 20 on the road and expect to win. That's just not how it works. If there is any good news out of this, the good news would be that the computers didn't look at this loss as anything. We were 24 in the net rankings before the Georgia game. We were 24 in the net rankings after the Georgia game. Beats me. not mad about it. I'm pretty happy about it, actually. But that would be about the only positive I can see out of it. AP poll came out today. The Hogs dropped to 20. It's about right. Kind of surprised they only dropped 3 spots. I thought they may drop 4 or 5. Because I feel like this team, talent wise, is better than the 20th ranked team in the country. They got to figure out the other stuff. Got to figure it out. Um, there's no reason this team should never not have a number in front of them for this whole season. This team is too good, too talented to not be ranked, and they're on the cusp of doing that. It just takes one more 1-1 week or 0-2 week, and that could happen. And the schedule coming up is very favorable for the Hogs. Obviously, you got Vandy coming in, tonight, and Vandy's really, really dang good. They're ranked 15th. They've lost 2 in a row. Uh, I'm not doing the whole desperate thing. I'm done with that. You're at home. You're in Bud Walton. I don't care. No excuses. You should win every game at Bud Walton. Every single game. And I know Vandy's really good. I know they've lost 2 in a row. I know they're hungry. I know Tyler Tanner's one of the best guards in the country. Um, but you also have one of the best guards in the country, and Darius Acuff. And so you're going to have to want to guard. You're going to have to want to guard. The positive thing about this matchup is you almost play the same style of play as Vandy. Your strengths are their strengths. Your weaknesses are their weaknesses. Um, they don't have dominant bigs that has given us trouble all year. And so hopefully we can have a great crowd at 8 p.m. I know it's not ideal on a work night, school night, but the Bud needs to be packed to the brim, rocking. It's got to be a great home court advantage because these guys they're gonna need it. Vandy is really, really good. Their whole, I was very skeptical. I didn't think they had any good non-conference wins, and I was calling them frauds. And I know they've lost 2 in a row, but they went on the road to Texas, kind of got curb stomped like we did at Auburn and Georgia, never really in the game. And then they lost a really, really close game to Florida, who's really figured it out and just playing really well now. And so, it's not like they have bad losses, on the road and to Florida, who's a defending national champion, who's starting to beat everybody pretty bad. So we'll see. Time will tell. In other news, Darius Acuff did not win Freshman of the Week, finally, after winning 5 in a row. But make no mistake about it, he should have won Freshman of the Week again. He got screwed out of it. The SEC office was going to find any way possible to not give him this award for a 6th time. It's just kind of how things work. And kid from Alabama had a pretty good week. I think he averaged 13 and 10 on the week. Darius Acuff was way better than that. He had 13 assists and 0 turnovers against South Carolina, for gosh sake. To be exact, it was 18 points, 13 assists, 0 turnovers. Second freshman in the history of college basketball to do that. And then, once again, the Georgia game was not good by any means, but Darius Acuff still got his. Darius Acuff still had 20 points. He still had 6 rebounds and 6 assists. And so he should have won Freshman of the Week again. Unfortunately, the SEC decided to go somewhere else with it, and that is fine. Maybe that'll fuel him a little bit. The good news is that he is slowly creeping up these draft boards. He's finally starting to get some of the respect that he is so well deserved. I know I saw a guy on Twitter that released his draft board. He's got 200 something thousand followers. He does it for a living. I can't remember his name, but he had Darius Acuff as a number 5 overall pick coming up in the draft. And once again, at his height, that is crazy. Because if he was 3 inches taller, I think he'd be a unanimous number 1 or 2 pick. But but he's finally starting to get his flowers a little bit. Hopefully, it's not getting to his head, and he's keeping that dog mentality and staying hungry, and keeps getting better and keeps being the catalyst into this team moving on as we get closer to March. Um, Anyways, let me know. Are you concerned at all with this team, or you think it's just a bump in the road? Are you concerned with this team's defensive mindset? Are you concerned with their mental toughness? Are you concerned with their lack of sense of urgency? Or you think it's just a small bump in the road and everything's fine? Uh, Leave me a comment. Let me know. Last thing I want to touch on is NFL playoffs, man. It was great weekend of football again. 2 overtime games, Denver and Buffalo. Great football game. Hate it for Josh Allen, man. I like Josh Allen. I'm not a Bills fan. I'm not even a Josh Allen fan, but he's a good guy. He just can never get through Mahomes. I think he's been to 6 divisional round playoffs in a row and has never been to Super Bowl, obviously. Didn't play a great game, but they got beat 33-30. Couple phantom calls there late at Mile High for the home team, but you expect to get those 50-50 calls when you're at home. Um, Patriots beat the Houston Texans 28-16. Uh, CJ Stroud threw 4 interceptions in the first half. I don't know what's happened to CJ Stroud, man. He was so good in college at Ohio State. I remember him in that national championship game making some great throws. His rookie year, he had a really good year. And I don't know. He's not slinging it around like I thought he would be. 4 interceptions in one half of a playoff game. Maybe it was three or 4 interceptions. I didn't get cut it. And so you got the Patriots and the Broncos coming up in the AFC Championship at Mile High. Bo Nix was announced with a broken foot on the quarterback kneel play, I think, when he kneeled it to get the ball to the middle. He got rolled up on. Talk about a bad break. He's out for the playoffs. Um, I don't know if Jarrett Stidham is. I think he's a backup quarterback. I mean, it's hard to think a backup quarterback can come in and will your team to a Super Bowl, but you never know. I mean, it's a tough league, and players play at a high level, even the backups. So um, that'll be a good one. I'm a big Mike Vrabel fan. I'll never be a Patriots fan just because of how much they've won in my lifetime. But I like Mike Vrabel a lot. He got fired from Tennessee Titans was it 2 years ago, and is just rolling in New England. So good for Mike. NFC Seahawks just spanked the 49ers 41-6 in Seattle. Seattle's one of the toughest places to play in any sport. And so I think it'll be tough for the Rams to go in there and get a win, but they could. Matt Stafford's going to win the MVP, so you never know. They're obviously in the same division, so they've already played there once. But the Rams beat the Bears in overtime 20-17. Great football game. Caleb Williams makes a last second heave at the end zone to send it to overtime on 4th and 10 or whatnot. And great football game. So, anyways, got the Seahawks and the Rams and the Broncos and the Patriots. We'll talk a little more about that on Friday's pod. But really exciting weekend of football. Once again, congrats to all the Hoosier fans out there. Congrats to Kurt Signetti and his crew. Huge game coming up with Vanderbilt for the Hogs tonight. And hopefully they can get back on track. I plan on going more than likely. So try to do my part to get this team to be a little more efficient on the defensive end of the floor, to say the least. Hope Andrew has his internet ready by Friday because this is a lot of talking for one guy. And I know my jaw's starting to hurt a little bit. I'm not used to that. So, anyways, everybody have a great week. We will be back on Friday. Go Hogs and woo pig.